Most of the trends that I see in government and industry right now with respect to cloud are really all around maturity and maturity of the evolution of the organization to become a cloud adopter or user. And so for the most part, that means that the realization from our customer's perspective that it's really not about the cloud at all. It's really about this transformation to IT as a service. And then within that, what we're seeing is taking advantage of automation capabilities, extending the existing investments in cloud computing technologies from on-premises to off-premises and having that run as a holistic environment, and then treating it like a business and really tracking the transparency of the costs of the cloud portfolio. And so all of those things are kind of wrapped up in this evolution and journey to becoming an IT as a service provider. Cloud is everywhere, and so to a certain extent, we're seeing cloud computing extend from the internal private cloud to the external clouds in virtually every level of government. So we see examples, and actually in this respect, the hybrid cloud adopters really started in the state level of government and the local level of government, and even in the education space. Predominantly starting with the university level. So what they've done is really realize that the best value of cloud computing, again, being driven by a tight budget-constrained environment, the real value comes from getting the most out of what's running on-premises and what's running off-premises, and to do that in a way that's interconnected, which gives the organization the ability to be most efficient. So now, that said, the early adopters of hybrid cloud tended to be in state and local government and higher education, and now we're beginning to see the federal level governments come in as well. And again, taking advantage of the existing investments in the technology and the training of the people internal to their organizations and their support staff, and then leveraging those tools from an inside-out approach. And when the organization realizes that that's the best value, that's the best efficiency, and the best service level model that they can get from cloud, they go to a hybrid cloud model. So some best practices when migrating to the cloud is, again, to realize that it's not an island, or it's not a thing in itself, that it really is to be managed in a heterogeneous way. And so the best way to take advantage of that is to leverage existing investments in cloud, take advantage of automation, and extend the automation features of the underlying cloud infrastructure technology to extend beyond a simple siloed approach. So in other words, transcend the silos, so that the automation features can go to on-premises, multi-hypervisor, multi-cloud, all from one management plane. Then, another best practice, treat it like a business, right? We're not in this just for IT. IT is really about delivering capabilities for the mission, and that means getting really transparent on cost and performance, and then demonstrating those back to the end user organization, and then using that information, not just for tactical purposes, using that information to manage the IT portfolio in a much more strategic way, and aligning through the governance process to the business. And so starting with the private cloud, extend it to a hybrid cloud, leverage the built-in automation, both for service deployment and for automation, and then treat it like a business. I think those are predominantly the best practices we're seeing today. IT as a service is part of this cloud maturity that I've been referring to. And so the best way to take advantage of that is to recognize that the services that IT delivers need to align with the needs of the business and the mission. And in order to do that, then the business needs to have access to that information through a very easily accessible, secure kind of an environment. So that's driving the technology piece. Treat it like a portfolio. Offer those and expose those portfolio of services to the end user so that they can consume it in an end user self-service model, right? Tie it to the budget, right? Then go ahead and make it easy to automatically provision and scale so that as the business needs change, the business doesn't have to wait for IT to do things. that the IT infrastructure and the cloud services that are built on top of that have the ability to scale and extend based on the demands, changing demands, and of the mission organizations. And then finally, make sure that there's a way for the cloud infrastructure and the services that are in the portfolio to include and support the legacy existing applications that everyone is running already, as well as new applications that the organization might be building, and tie in SaaS type of applications, software as a service that might be running in someone else's cloud, and the end user might even not know where those applications are actually running. And tie all that together through a seamless, single access page, if you will, that's accessible in a secure manner via multiple devices and multiple networks, and extend the cloud from data center to the device. And so that's the last piece that I would suggest is part of that evolution. I think IT as a service is going to go through basically 3 different phases of the evolution. The first phase is the foundational phase, or we'll call it the basics, right? So putting in place the architecture and the technologies to enable all these IT as a services capabilities to come into place. And that would include things like the software-defined data center and the agility and automation that brings. Layering in a single management framework for managing across a heterogeneous on-premises, off-premises cloud environment. And then adding in this business management capability so that all of these cloud-based decisions and IT offered as a service are made in the context of what the mission really needs and what the value is to the mission. Those are the basics, right? That's kind of like the absolute necessity for becoming an IT as a service provider. The next stage is leveraging all of that in order to manage the IT service offering as if it was a portfolio. So then evaluating the cost performance, the service level performance, the security, the responsiveness, all of that against the needs of the organization, the requirements of the data that might have some security requirements associated with it, the different performance needs depending on the mission criticality of that particular application, and so on and so forth, and looking at it holistically as a portfolio. And then finally, stage 3 is then really being able to leverage all of that together for the organization to make strategic decisions based on the opportunities that are available to them in the cloud. And that might be really getting to this capability of becoming a broker. So leveraging, going through this IT as a service evolution to really becoming a broker of services for the entire enterprise, and being able to do so on a cost, performance, and security value equation, and doing so in a very responsive and very agile way with multiple options available in the portfolio.